Moni, can't hear you.
Can't hear you, Moni. I can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Okay. Can we?
No.
All right, how about now, guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can we start over?
Okay. I'm going to start the show again. Anybody watching? But I'm going to go back and edit that part out. Here we go. In 5. No, that one, guys. There we go. All right, welcome back in to Dolan's Dugout with your host, Steve Dolan. I'm Ramon Scott, Steve, some unfinished business tonight. Mark Gleason of Fox Sports San Diego joins us, as well as Adam Paul of EC Preps. This is my Monday night crew, I guess, moving forward.
Yeah, like you say, Moni, it's great to have Mark Gleason back with us. Of course, Mark, I worked with him at Fox Sports San Diego, but Mark also does, I know he does ESPN, I know he does CBS Sports Network. I know, Mark, you do TBS if and when there are baseball playoffs, and I'm probably missing 13 other things that you do, please. But Mark, as we beg for baseball, how's everything going your way?
Good. I was happy to receive your call on Friday night, Steve, to ask me to be on tonight. And I said, well, let me check my schedule. And 2 seconds later, I said, yeah, I'm available.
Yeah.
And then I asked you if the fee was the same. And you said it was. And I'm glad to hear that because you didn't pay me for last time. And I don't have to pay you. You know, I didn't have to pay you last time, and I don't have to pay you this time either. So I was glad to hear the fee was still the same.
Well, I'm probably paying you about the same amount as everybody else is right now. But, of course, I guess that's a joke between you and I, but we're glad to have Mark.
I rehearsed that to my wife, and I messed up the joke.
And she's watching.
Okay.
She's watching. So let's get that right. But hey, you know, Mark, it's great to have, of course, Ramon Scott with us as always from EastCountySports.com. Adam Paul there from EC Preps, and again, Mark Gleason. Mark, you're our special guest. What is or most likely is not going on right now in the baseball world? Because every day we hear something different.
Now there's another story coming out, and it's from sources that they're going to start up a spring training 2 on June 2nd and start playing on July 1st. And that's another one of those. Kevin Acey had a story I just saw this afternoon.
Yeah.
It was a lot of sources. And you being a newspaper guy, Steve, is that the way it's done these days? That you can't just say, I think, you have to say sources are telling me, or is that the way it has to be worded these days?
Pretty much. It depends on the writer, because I know one of my best sources ever over the last few decades has been Mark Gleason. So that's where I hear mine from. But you know, Mark, actually, I mean, I'm sure that these are, there you go. It's when it's not done to you, but I'm sure those are good sources. And obviously the sources aren't going to tell you anything unless they're real. Although if I'm your editor and you say sources, I'm going to say who your sources are. You can tell me, and they better be real. But I guess you know what Kevin Acey said today, and I think this is the best plan yet, where you would start spring training in early June at your home ballpark, because you know you can't really go back to Arizona because you got to pack up and take you a week to get there and all. You know, 3-4 weeks at your home ballpark. You just got to play against your own team, inter squad, and all. Then start July 1st, and again starting July 1st. With no fans. But that's the way it's going to be, as you, Moni, and Adam know. When it starts July 1st, whenever, no fans. Right, Mark?
Yeah, I put out a thing on Facebook and been echoing a couple other places, which kind of makes me wonder, either I think alike of these other people, but Bob Nightingale said it from USA Today, that they would start off with empty ballpark and then start letting fans in very small numbers. And maybe I threw out there a 20% capacity in the ballpark. So number one, you get the ballpark workers back to work because you have some kind of a crowd in there, but they have to structure the tickets and say, okay, when you come in, you have to sit in your assigned seat. If your seat is way up in right field, that's where you need to be for separation. And you can only do that with probably like a 20% capacity situation. And it'll be a neat little project for somebody in the ticket office to come up with some kind of a program that says, okay, you two are related, you can sit together. You four are related, you can sit together. Those people, they need to be 6 feet away. And station all the tickets around the ballpark to allow 20% of the crowd to be in there. Concessions, on one of the suggestions I heard is it's you order up your things and they bring it to you so you don't stand in line at the concession stand. That's another part of it. It's a reduce lines wherever you can and create the social distancing that you need. And you get the ballpark workers working again, and you get some fans in the stands. Now, it's going to start off no fans. That's a given. If they're going to start on July 1st, they're not going to let crowds in. And the thing I saw Bob Nightingale saying, he actually said an incremental kind of thing, like 1,000 people first, then 2,000, then 5,000, something like that. But I can see him imposing some kind of a percentage to establish the social distancing and keep that in order. And that'll give Adam and security the power to keep the people in
I want to add back to the ballpark.
Well, I'm trying to remember what the heck it was on Sports Center. It was this morning I was watching, because I was kind of watching some of the Don Shula coverage from today. And I thought it was baseball. Gosh dang, I'm sorry. I've been doing so much today. They said they were only going to allow 15,000 people in at to start.
Was that the Miami
Dolphins? Baseball?
That was the Miami Dolphins thing. Yes, Steve, that was the Miami Dolphins thing. They've already come up with a plan with social distancing, and I didn't research it any further. I heard about it, and supposedly they already have the gates all fixed, and whether it's temperature sensing, taking people's temperature or whatever, social distancing, marks on the ground, all sorts of things. And they said, we'll let 15,000 people in and that's it. And that's in like a 65,000 seat stadium.
Yeah.
So, it's about 5% is what you can do and still maintain the social distancing.
Mark, it's interesting you say that because people are planning now, obviously. They're looking forward because obviously California right now, we've just started stage 2. Start of stage 3 would be baseball with no fans, and also churches. I can speak for churches because, as y'all know, I go to Shadow Mountain Community Church where Christian High School is. In his sermon last Saturday, Pastor David Jeremiah said what the church has already done is every other row they've taken the cushions out, which would be 6 feet. Now, if the 4 of us are in the same row, we might have to be every third seat or whatever. But people are planning ahead, just like you say, the Miami Dolphins. And my best guess is the San Diego Padres already have a plan. But, I mean, the thing is with something like that, you're better to tell people a day late than a day early, because if you tell them a day early, you're just opening yourself to criticism, probably.
Yeah, but it's all about getting people back to work on top of that. So, I can see something like that coming out.
I know it's not billion-dollar businesses or anything like that, but I've been talking to a couple of the city council members in Santee because they've been having Zoom meetings with community members on how to open up businesses and stuff. In fact, they've opened up Carlton Oaks Golf Course this past Friday, and one of the council members told me on a post in a message that the businesses have to come up with some kind of plan written, and they have to show that they can abide by the CDC and health ordinances and stuff. For instance, the Santee Drive-In a few weeks ago wanted to reopen on a Friday night. Well, they got a call from law enforcement saying that they couldn't because they were considered non-essential. Well, I'll guarantee you, if they come up with they had a plan in place what they were going to do. If they come up with a written plan in place and they present that, they'll be able to hopefully open possibly when it's their turn.
Mm-hmm.
I can see
that makes sense.
Retail also, where they're going to say you can only have a certain number of people in the store,
Yes.
Something like that, like only 25% capacity, and they'll have to control that in some way, shape, or form. Now, the grocery stores are still open, and they've already established some kind of social distancing as well as capacity that they're allowed to have inside of the store. And I know there's a Vons on Balboa and Genesee that I went to that we had to wait outside until they determined that they're trying to control the number of people in the store. And I can see the non-essential retail establishing the same thing. Now, if you go to Target or Walmart, there's nothing going on there that I've seen as far as controlling how many people are in the store.
Well,
but I can see that something being imposed upon the other retail people. For instance, my son he was working retail at a Goodwill store up in Escondido.
And
they closed them down as being non-essential retail, and yet, someplace like Target can be open or Walmart.
Yeah.
And I think that's also because they have groceries there.
Walmart, that was my job. I was a donations attendant out here in East County for Goodwill. And they shut my box down as well after 2 weeks of being paid. And because like I said, I was supposed to go back to work on Saturday the 3rd or 4th of April.
Same exact thing with my son. Exact thing. So that was company wide as far as that goes.
Yeah, there's still some good. There's 7 locations still open, but they're not giving out receipts, and they're heavily regulated on what they can and can't take and whatnot.
So that's just donation centers?
Yeah, yes. All the stores are closed.
Okay. Yeah, stores are closed, yeah.
Interesting, because you guys know one thing, Friday, they're going to say that some businesses can open. I found this kind of interesting today, because one of the things that they say can open Friday are flower shops. And like Governor Newsom said, just in time for Mother's Day. But then I went, oh my gosh, can you imagine opening flower stores 2 days before Mother's Day? If you're doing social distancing, the line's going to be 3 miles long. Maybe those should have been open a week earlier, because my gosh, you do that 2 days before Mother's Day, those flower stores, it's going to be a nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
One of the big arguments moving forward, guys, when we talk about what is proper social distancing and why can't we get together when you go to some of these large stores, like you said, like the grocery store, like Walmart, like Big Lots. And there's a lot of people in there. So why can't we operate moving forward? That's just kind of the trade-off that we're deciding to make, is to try to move forward and be as safe as we can. I think one of the most interesting parts that I've seen, this one was in the San Diego Union. Maybe you guys have seen it when you look down those county-specific charts regarding COVID. There's about 6,500 hospital beds in the county, and about 3,500 of them, I said 5,500 total beds, 3,500 of them being used, and about 150 or less being used for COVID patients. So I think that's kind of the leeway that we're giving ourselves. We don't want to hurt anybody, but we want to do some things and kind of see how this operates. So there is kind of a cushion, a built-in cushion is really the main thing we want to do, other than getting rid of this disease, is to be safe and not overrun the healthcare system. It looks like there is some room to try to do some things, operate, see how it goes, and see if we can continue to protect our vulnerable people and still try to move forward a little bit, start to make the economy move and get our lives back together again. I know one thing that bothers me, though, guys, is when people are pushing their shopping carts down the wrong direction in the aisle.
Yeah, throwing gloves on the ground. And Moni, hey, I'm going to go back to something you said a minute ago, Moni. As far as the hospitals, I know one hospital that is pretty full with COVID patients is Sharp Chula Vista, which has made other Sharps in San Diego have to leave beds open because there could be excess patients that they'll have to send to those other hospitals. I mean, I know within the next couple of weeks, they're going to open up electives at a lot of the hospitals. But one thing people have to remember, if you've been waiting 2 months for an elective surgery, you may not be first in line because there's a lot of people waiting for those. I mean, those who say, okay, right now the healthcare system isn't slammed in San Diego County, that may be true. But when it's really going to get slammed is when everything's back to, quote, normal, and all of these elective surgeries that have been held off for the last couple of months it's going to be slammed because they only have so many operating rooms. You only have so many doctors. They only have so many nurses. And as you know, I can, not to pat myself on the back, but I can speak from firsthand experience on that, obviously. That's what's going on right now in healthcare. I can tell you that much. That's about all I can tell you. But I know we're more of a sports show. I'm just, curious what's going to happen when baseball starts. Because one thing I know, like for instance, the hospital workers now here, Amazon, a lot of places, when those workers go in, they take their temperature, and if it's too high, if it's high, you go home. And I think that's one thing that's going to have to happen at baseball games too. Players, fans, us in the media, whatever, they're going to take everybody's temperature. And again, if it's too high, you're gone for today.
Well, that was part of reopening golf courses, is they were taking temperatures. They were supposed to take the temperature of anybody who came out and played. And I heard one golf course did turn away some people who had their temperature was high. They had, whether it's slight fever or whatever, but they were actually following the guidelines and turning people away who did display some kind of a fever. And I could certainly see that being part of the reopening of sports, is taking everybody's temperature, at least an indication of whether or not you're sick. I can see that part of it, but honestly, and I don't mean this selfishly because my livelihood depends upon it, but I really don't see why they couldn't have played the games without fans. I know they don't want to, and I think that's what factors into it more than anything else, is they don't want to play it without fans because, number one, there's the revenue involved. 70% or less, certain teams more, of the revenue comes from the fan. The only league that really doesn't suffer from fans not coming is the NFL. That's their business model. They make money if nobody comes to the game because of the way their TV contract is, where it's a totally national contract. Yeah. Everybody gets the same amount of money. That's how you can have a team in Green Bay that's competitive. Whereas in baseball, it's the other way. The Dodgers make $325 million a year off their TV contract, and the Padres make $90. There's that disparity there where the Padres are even more dependent upon the gate than the Dodgers are. And that's the disparity across baseball. I think every other sport is dependent upon the gate. And there was a word today that the NBA went on had a call. They went out to their governors and said that, not the state governors, I mean within the game, saying that they're looking at starting their season until maybe Christmas, just to wait long enough to have crowds. Because of the revenue, maybe the players have come to them and said, we need crowds. So I think that baseball could have gone on and played without crowds safely. Honestly, safely. You can control the environment enough with the players and their families, and you can control that. I believe you can control that environment enough to be able to play the games without fans. But I don't think they want to. So that's what it comes down to. It's revenue-based, and it's also kind of, let's wait and see if we can play with fans. But ultimately, I think it's going to be, if they want to play at all, it's with no fans for at least the first month, if not more.
Well, back to the NBA, I think they'd be smart to postpone the season until, if they can finish up this year and then postpone the next season and not until, Christmas Day, because in all honesty, talking to some of my diehard junkie NBA friends who love the NBA, they don't even watch the NBA until Christmas Day. So if the NBA, they could be the leaders in what to do, have something, they could be forward thinkers coming up.
Yeah, Alan, before that, we may have baseball. Before that, here's an issue with baseball, though. As y'all know, Umpires are taking a pay cut. Front office people are taking a pay cut, etc. The players got their $170 million. Here's what the final issue is going to be in baseball, because like Mark says, a high percentage, 2/3 of the money comes from in-house, and if there's no in-house, there's not as much money. Well, baseball players, I know how their union works, they're going to want to say, hey, we want our full salaries prorated, and the issue there is going to be that the money's not going to be there. I think it's kind of like I heard on MLB Network this morning, like somebody put it so well, the irony in baseball is going to be the ones who are going to want the most, percentage-wise, are already the ones who are getting the most, period. I mean, it's already going to be the ones making the 20 to 30 million. And that may be the rubbing point in baseball, is the players are just going to say, we've taken enough of a cut. They better be careful, because if they don't want to take a cut on a percentage, assuming, that the gate's not there, the fans and the gate aren't going to be there, they better watch it, because the old cliche, they can cut off their nose to spite their face, and they could cost themselves a season by being too greedy at this point.
Well,
Mark, you're shaking your head.
No, go ahead.
I think it's going to be presented to the players this way. Okay, they've negotiated the $170 million to be paid out through May 31st. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's all. The owners are going to come to them and say, okay, we want to play, but we're not going to have the revenue from the fans. That is this much of our revenue. Okay? You have to take that much of a pay cut, or we don't play at all. I think it's going to be a take it or leave it thing. It's going to have to be. The owners are in position here, and the owners aren't being greedy about it. It's going to be supported by numbers that they're losing that percentage of the revenue, and they've already paid them $170 million. But I think it's going to be a take it or leave it thing. Either we
okay,
or we're not playing at all, and you don't get any money.
Could I answer a question real quick? Because PJ has a question to us. He says, what do you do with season ticket holders? Credit them for next year, make this from scratch. What they've done so far, PJ, they are refunding season tickets through May 31st and individual game tickets. What people can do, they got couple choices right now. You can get a refund, or those tickets can be credited for future games. Yeah. And again, the league-wide thing right now is through May 31st. Any tickets you have, season ticket or individual game, can either be one of those two things. And Adam, I'm sorry I didn't interrupt you.
There was a couple things because George Varga wrote an article. The entertainment writer for the Union Tribune. He wrote an article just within the last couple of weeks ago. About the entertainment, the concert industry and what they're doing with refunds and stuff. And he mentioned, about, Petco Park and baseball and stuff. Well, obviously MLB came out with their deal, and then the Padres, came out with their, when they were able to last Wednesday, came out with their plan. Because I know quite a few season ticket holders who, like you said, they can get refunds up until May 31st, or they can push that to a credit next year. Talked to a buddy of mine who's a Dodgers season ticket holder, because they were supposed to have the All-Star game this year, and he had to shell out extra money for those All-Star tickets. It was like almost $2,000 or something like that, and he was telling me that they are going to refund that money. I believe, or they can, credit it or whatever. But you know what
that tells me?
What's that?
Without MLB saying it, the games are canceled through May 31st.
Yeah,
that's it. Those games will be made up. The games are canceled through May 31st, but they're not saying that if they're allowing all the teams to get these refund policies, they're not going to say the games are canceled. But that's exactly what it means. And to your point, Adam, is if they're talking about refunding the All-Star game tickets, that's also telling you that the All-Star game ain't going to be played either. Yeah. That's for sure.
Well,
I'm sure move it to next year. They'll get the game next year.
Yeah. Let's not say none of these teams are broke or, going to file bankruptcy anytime soon. Trust me. They're going to lose money at the gate and whatnot. And yes, and sometimes, but they're making money from other ways. In fact, there was an article I read a few years ago that every team is making hundreds of millions of dollars still off the Washington Nationals sale. That money was put into an account and accrued interest, and that's paid every year to every single Major League Baseball team. There is no small market team anymore in MLB. So, the author of that article, and I'm sorry I don't recall, he said, don't listen to these owners just saying, "Oh, I can't afford such and such player," because that's bunk.
Yeah, of course, you got to look at each team individually because, like Mark said earlier, he's mentioning what the Dodgers are making, and the Yankees and Cubs are up there versus the Padres. And what do you think teams like the Kansas City Royals and the Florida Marlins are making? Hey, I wanted to go back to a point too, what we were talking about a minute ago, as far as the credits, the refunds. And Mark, you and I have gotten emails, of course, that everything is canceled through May 31st. We know that, but as far as the credits are concerned,
they're released from work,
which we know what that means, but.
We are releasing you from the dates.
Yeah, we know that. But if you're a season ticket holder, what they are releasing, what I did see in the Padres release, no less, is that if you do decide to apply your money towards next season, that the tickets will be the same cost. In other words, if they bump ticket prices up, you won't have to pay the extra. But then again, after what's happened this season, I can't imagine teams bumping ticket prices up next season because, it's kind of like, when businesses come back, and I get it, like, my barber and all, I mean, obviously when I come back, I'm not trying to say them. Let's just say that, for instance. But when you come back, the businesses that have been out of business are going to say, hey, we're out a lot of money and all. But as the customer, you're also out a lot of money. So if Major League Baseball were to say next year, hey, last year we didn't make our fortune, we're going to have to raise ticket prices. Well, you as a consumer, it's like, hey, I was out of work 4 months last year. I made a lot less money too. So suck it up, because one story I always tell, as far as like money with athletes and all, I knew a lady years ago. I knew a lady that was dating one of the Chargers. I'm not going to say who he was, but what he did not understand is when she would say something like, "I can't afford that car, much less I can't afford that furniture," because to an athlete, if you can't afford a car, it's probably your 10th Porsche.
Yeah.
And to us, it's a used car that you drive every day, because these guys are living in an unreal world financially.
Exactly.
Yeah, a lot of them are. Yeah.
Guys, I'll give you something to keep your eye on, and I think there's been a little bit of talk about it. And just 1 hour away, guys. I know you're still going to be up, but it's the opening of the baseball organization's regular season. So this is going to be something to watch moving forward, not because we're desperate to watch a somewhat quality baseball game. The KBO is a pretty good league, probably ranked maybe third or fourth in the scope of professional baseball leagues around the world. But they're going to begin play their regular season. They've already undergone a preseason for a couple of weeks. And ESPN, by the way, picking up said 6 games a week, one a night every day. I think they don't play on Monday nights, but as I mentioned in our previous show, we talked about it. The Chinese Professional Baseball League has been underway in Taiwan, and they've played upwards of 10 games already without incident. Now, Taiwan, right off the coast of Japan, I know everybody pretty much knows that. And South Korea, hey, they've done a pretty good job, reportedly, with their battle against the virus, so they're feeling comfortable. But I think that it's just something to see how they do it, how they go about doing it. The KBO has some plans in place to do some testing if anyone were to come down with COVID-19. Same thing probably in the Chinese Professional Baseball League, but that's just going to be something not only to occupy our time a little bit. It's kind of a neat time for those of us in COVID land. 10 o'clock at night, those games are going to be coming on ESPN, ESPN too. But just to watch to see how they go about things. I want to talk about it more on the COVID side than maybe the baseball side. Should be some good games too. Watch out for the Duke Bears. They always win the championship.
Should I get
Steve,
I'm betting on them.
You got a call to do stats yet, Steve?
What's that?
You get a call to do stats yet?
Yeah, we gotta be there an hour and a half because we're.
I gotta go.
Yeah, I'm going to do stats remotely, but I wish I could. But you know, it's interesting because Moni is our COVID expert. And Moni, it's funny because what you're saying, isn't this something that I know U.S. baseball will have to be really watching this, for lack of better words. This is probably kind of like their guinea pig, so to speak. Let's see what happens. Let's see what we can copy. It's kind of like the NFL with the the XFL or the Alliance last year. You watch them, and there are some things you can pull from them. And do you see that happening, especially on the COVID side from America, that there's going to be some things we're going to have to pull from the Korean Baseball League? Moni, you are my COVID guy.
Yeah, and well, I think more of it has to do with the timing of it. Maybe they've done a better job. Hey, for these sad numbers out of the United States, and I'm not one to put the label on it, done a good job, done a bad job. This is a total tragedy, as we've talked about over the weeks. But, if it's just that the mitigation kind of works and that there are a couple of weeks they get into it without incident, it's going to make everyone who are kind of watching these games, fans, people in general from the United States, going to be watching and saying, hey, they're doing it. We might feel a little bit more comfortable moving forward. Look, there's going to be some people who are going to have hesitation until there's a vaccine, probably. That's just the nature of people. I don't know if you've interacted with, some people out in public. Some people are a little bit more comfortable being, I don't want to say within that 6 foot range, but some people will really reach for something, like, hey. But yet some people, maybe, I don't want to say they're a little more realistic, but, they got the face coverings on, they might pass by each other and whatnot. Look, if we get 15,000 people in a stadium, that's still in the same space as people. And so that's what we're going to see. When we start to get fans going, I think, in those countries, then that'll really start to put a little bit of pressure, I think, on Major League Baseball and other sports teams. Hey, guys, the NFL got so cocky. You talk about the football. They got so cocky with their ratings for that draft. They're doing a big schedule release on Thursday. And those dates are probably still going to be, tentative, just like everything else. But I don't know. Sounds like we're kind of going for a little bit of, momentum off the draft. Let's get the eyeballs on, keep them on the league. It's always been a pretty popular show, the NFL schedule show, but here it is again. They're probably going to get bigger ratings than all those previous NFL schedule shows combined.
Well, I know the NFL came out and said that if there's no college football season, they'll be taking over Saturday night.
Yeah.
So that's going to be really interesting if that happens. I'm one of those guys, one of those people that is stupid enough to go, says screw it, just go sit. I'm not waiting for no vaccine because it ain't coming. That's just my opinion. It doesn't make any sense to me. Obviously this is a serious thing, but just from listening to everything and like I said, I honestly don't think that the vaccine, if it comes, is going to be about 2-3 years down the line. Can't wait for that.
No,
I think there was some survey that came out that said people would be wary to go to a sporting event,
sure,
concert, or whatever. So it may be almost like the crowd will be controlled because out of people's fear of going to, a sporting event, a concert, whatever. There may be a little bit of control there as far as the size of the crowds go.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't never want to make it political with you guys, but it sounds like there would be one type of faction of people that will be attending these sporting events.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if I could afford it, I'd be one of the 15,000 people to attend the Miami Dolphins game. I mean, okay, I'll go through the rate, whatever they do, whatever they need to do, whether it be, stick a thing up my nose to test me or whatever. With watching what's happening, with the opening of the beaches and stuff, and the businesses, and talking to some of my friends who actually were at Carlton Oaks Golf Course last Friday, they said it was great. People were, doing their thing, so being respectful of each other. politics is just stupid. It's really dumb, and people, it's fear mongering at this point.
I don't know, Moni, you got that look on your face, and I mean, I work with somebody in healthcare. I mean, I've seen both sides of this story, obviously, because I grew up conservatively, and yet I also worked at a liberal university for over 15 years, so I kind of see both sides of this. And I think, we got to be careful when we talk about people being fearful, because, I mean, like some things I'm reading, I agree with them too, is that a lot of people who see this virus as not a big deal, hear that, and I'm not talking about you, Adam, but a lot of the people who see this virus as not a big deal, I hear them say me a lot. And a lot of people who think this virus is a big deal, I hear them say we a lot. And that's been my take. I've kind of stepped away from Facebook for the last week. Somebody unfriended me for something I said. I probably shouldn't have said. I called people morons that didn't get it. They didn't get it. Again, the only thing I've always said, sadly, we all know about the 49-year-old healthcare worker last week in New York that took her own life because of what she's seen. I always say people that think this thing isn't a big deal, I think they probably should just go to work in a New York emergency room for 30 days and then come back and tell us that it's not a big deal, right?
Well,
Moni, I get that look on your face.
Yeah, no, let me walk the line. Let me shake my head no to Adam, but let me agree with those people that want to go out and protest. We, as a society, have to move forward. We cannot stay sheltered in until there's a vaccine. I think to a certain extent, even the scientists that sit in the same room with the economists have to kind of like negotiate almost and come to conclusions like, what can we do? So have we done enough to shore up our healthcare systems, and are we willing to make the trade-off, doing the best we can? We're never going to cast aside whether we continue to lose people at the rate of 1,500 to now 2,000, or maybe let's say as we start to go out a little bit, but yet we still do the best job we can to protect our loved ones, that number goes up to 2,500 or 3,000, which is absolutely terrible. We know that, but we're trying to heal ourselves as a society and make the necessary, take the precautions to protect people, but yet still move forward. And are we willing to make that sacrifice? And that's all I would ask Adam. I am. Now I'm, 50. I don't know. I have a blood pressure pill I take. Maybe I'm at risk. Maybe I've got to, not do as much. I mean, I kind of go out and do some things here and there. I think we're all guilty of that, but we just have to continue to protect those people and try to do some activities moving forward, and that's the conclusion.
Well, I understand that. I understand that perfectly, and I get that. But you can't keep an economy shut down for a whole year just because of people who are vulnerable. I mean, if the people that are vulnerable, yes, protect them. Don't get me wrong. I'm not one to be one of those protesters, because that was just dumb, in my opinion. But knowing as many business owners as I do, it's ridiculous that what is considered essential and non-essential. Business is a business.
Yeah.
With goodwill.
It's essential to somebody.
I mean,
it's essential to the businessman. It's essential to the employees.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I have relatives also, like your wife, Steve. I have relatives in the healthcare industry, so I hear it all.
Yeah, I'm going to read a list of. What's funny? As much as I've heard a lot of Americans complaining lately, and I get it, I'm going to read a list of countries: Congo, Mozambique, Uganda, Yemen, Haiti, Ethiopia, Tanzania. What we're going through right now, if you lived in any one of those countries, what's now our worst day would be their best day. And I think all of us as Americans need to take a breath and realize how damn lucky we are to live here, even now in our worst of times, which are better than the best of times for more than half the people in the world. And that's my statement, because I'm tired of people bitching about everything, because we're just too damn spoiled. I mean, we're just too damn spoiled. That's the bottom line.
Those countries with or little to no health care are going to really feel the brunt if they aren't already. We're probably never going to get accurate numbers out of any of those countries to even give us perspective on that. And I don't know, I'll throw out my one political rant in this whole thing. I haven't really done it on any of the schools at all, but for any of those people that want to be critical of the way that these unfortunate numbers are piling up, you're more or less criticizing all of those heroes that are doing the absolute best job they can against an incurable disease.
Amen. Mark, your turn. You got that look on your face. I've seen you before. I know you.
I tend to be a moderate. I try and take in all the viewpoints and see like I'm saying, I don't understand why baseball couldn't have been played with no fans, but it's not a good example to set that they're just going to go full steam ahead and we're going to play our game and we just will play without fans and that's it. It's not good for the image of the sport to do that. And we have that coming up with the NFL. We have that coming up with the NBA, whether or not they're going to continue their season. We have it with the NHL. And it's just one of those things where you don't want to set a bad example moving forward, even though you can do something safely. Playing in front of fans, is that the way the game is supposed to be played? Well, no, but there are economics together with them playing the games. There's TV revenue that's still good for but you get it when you talk about these players that say, I play for the fans, I play for the fans. Well, the fans are watching TV also. They're not just the fans in the stadium, and they're not playing for Johnny in row 3. They're playing for the fans as a whole. Mm-hmm. So for them to continue to say, well, we don't want to play without fans because the fans mean so much to us. Well, that's a nice thing to trumpet, but ultimately, do you want to make your money or not? I'm doing everything I can my wife's happy today that I'm on this show because I showered and shaved for the first time in 4 days. So she's very happy about that.
We'll let her know. We're going to keep it we'll keep it for 4 hours. We'll keep it for 4 hours so she can get a break. No, but Mark, it's funny what you're saying because I know I think it was ESPN, or at least I read it on ESPN. Yeah, they're playing for the fans, but people, they took a poll and basically about 75% of the people say that if they have to play with no fans, that's fine. We just want to see, sports on TV. Because when you think about it, probably I don't know what the percentage is, but probably for every 10 fans that are in-house at a sporting event, there's probably hundreds watching it on TV overall over the course of the season. So people just want the sport on TV, on radio, whatever the case might be. And I'm all for that. I'm all for let's just play the games without fans if we have to, because again, like you said, the NFL draft, the ratings highest by far forever. And I know what you're saying, Mr. Gleason. I'm right with you. Yes, sir.
The other thing that when you get towards the fall here now with college sports, now professional sports, they get a large amount of money from television. Not all college teams are that way. If you're in the Big Ten, you get your share of money, but their percentage of relying on fans being in the stands is even higher than the pro sports teams. Mm-hmm. Michigan has to have 100,000 people in their stadium, for one of their games, because that generates the revenue. They don't get the majority of their revenue from a television contract, even though they're in the Big Ten. So it'll be interesting to see as we go forward into the fall. And with you gentlemen, perhaps you'd like to talk about high school sports.
Oh, yeah.
How they're going to have going forward. But I can see if college football can't have fans, they're not going to play because it's just not worth it to them in any way, shape, or form. It's just not worth it. And then we'll see how far it stretches into the college basketball season as well. But what are you hearing now about teams getting ready, the high school teams getting ready for the fall, and school's out? What are they being able to
Well,
do?
Mark, I can speak for my alma mater, El Capitan. I know what they're doing now, and I'm sure all the schools are doing are what's called virtual workouts. That's what they're all doing right now. That's the best they can do. And it's funny, Mark. Thank you for bringing up high schools, because I'm not going to name the school because I got it from a source that, I don't want to burn them on this, but I know of at least one high school, a smaller one in San Diego County, a private, and it's not Christian, that what they're already talking about, they will have graduation. They've been out measuring on their football field already to where they only have 80 to 100 people in a graduating class, where you can separate the students, you can separate the people in the crowd, and the question, does each student get 2 tickets, 4 tickets for mom, dad, brother, etc. So that's where we're going now. So the smaller schools, I think it's, they could do that. So I think we're heading in the right direction. I actually think also with the governor talking about maybe starting school in late July, it's kind of like they say in college football. If the students aren't back, you can't play college football. Same in high school. But if the students are back, I think we will be playing high school football. As the guys heard last week, the season starts on Friday, August 21st, which happens to be my 65th birthday. So I guess I'll be out at El Capitan for my 65th. Yeah. Yeah. But I think we're going to be playing. What do you think, Moni, Adam? Do you guys think we're going to be playing high school football this year? I do. I really do.
I think everything is kind of like what Adam said about the essential businesses. What we're trying to do is not cluster in the thousands in places. It's really an easy thing to think about and to do. Like I said, the trade-off might be there that we're still going to lose X percentage of the people, but we just want to get back to our norms, especially in communities. That's just so important and everything. And you see it with how many of you guys have driven down the street and seen those signs on the lawn, 2020 senior, and you feel for that person and everything that they've missed out on through all these things, including proms and graduations and things like that. Now, once we get into fall, and let's hope that, everything's on track for school. We've seen some plans. The UT's been reporting a little bit about schools maybe doing a little bit of mixture, like we said, with distance learning and on-site learning, balancing the schedules, bringing in, kids at different times, or classes passing in the hallways at different times, and that makes sense. You just don't want clusters of people, and I think at prep sports that can be managed. That's what we're going to do. And like I said with Adam, other than those businesses, those small businesses, it's just like going to those takeout places. You can only have 6 or 8 people in a store at a time.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be interesting because high school football, unfortunately, relies on fans in the stands, the money. If there's no fans in the stands, there's no revenue for the majority of these schools. They don't have TV contracts. San Diego CIF does not have TV contracts. Now, I think the southern section has a TV contract.
They do.
Because I read that they just got a small bump in their revenue pay. Each school, all 120 schools or whatever. So they actually only got like $1,000 something from Fox Sports or whatever it is up there. I was just Eric Sonheimer. I can't access the article. It's an LA Times article. He just posted about 17 minutes ago that the city section here's proposal to play football in the spring. But I don't know if that would work, just because of the different issues, the legalities. You got Title IX issues and things like that.
Yeah.
It's already hard enough. I mean, I'll use my alma mater for example. My friend Luke Phillips is the athletic director. it's already
Where's
hard
your
enough
alma
to. What's that?
What's the alma mater? I'm sorry, you said your alma mater, which is what? Oh, okay. Okay.
He's the athletic director there. It's already hard enough to schedule facility time for each team. So that's going to be a cluster if that happens down here, which I don't think it will. Because I know John Labita, who spoke in one of the meetings I was in last week, said that's just a rumor. Throw that out.
Yeah.
Like you said, Moni, the high school football down here at a lot of these schools relies on that attendance for fans.
Yeah, and Adam, you brought up a good point too. When you say moving football to the spring, a lot of players I know are football/baseball players, and all of a sudden football's in the spring. What do? Do you play football? Do you play baseball? And I still go back to the idea on football. I get that, you're right. Absolutely. They need the money. If you gave each player or somehow limited the number of tickets that were distributed to, let's say 1,000 instead of 4,000 at a game, would you be able to make ends meet by doing that?
The old 25% rule.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The 6-foot rule.
It depends on what kind of game it is. What game it is, Steve. Because half these teams the majority of these teams don't travel very well.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, if you look at, I'll use the big rivalry where they get about almost between 8,000 and 10,000 people a game. The Holy Bowl.
Yeah,
that's
a
huge revenue maker.
Yeah, I was there last year.
And they make over probably at least $100,000 on that gate. I mean, almost 100,000. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
I think you're right, Adam. I mean, the one thing on that game, I went to that game last year. Not only did they probably make that much on the gate and concessions, Cathedral had a luau before that game where they were charging $40 a pop, and that place was packed. The entire, for lack of better words, the entire quad. I mean, I know I was lucky enough to get to go. I mean, and the stupid story I always tell is, I was doing the game for 97.3, The Fan. It was great. I mean, as a matter of fact, I saw when they had drinks out there, I saw one of my favorite drinks I had in years. I grabbed the Shirley Temple, and I mean, it's the strongest Shirley Temple I ever had, because come to find out, it was a Mai Tai. So what do you do?
Yeah, and
that game, Steve.
Yeah, I wasn't too good on my stats that night, Mark. I don't know. I've had better stats nights than that night, I think.
No,
if you can't tell a margarita from Shirley Temple. Yeah, luckily I only did the stats. I wasn't on the air, but
I think it's great that the CIFs and the coaches and the schools are coming up with these plans. Because you kind of have to, because we're getting down to the nitty gritty. We're going to be coming down to the nitty gritty soon on what they're going to have to do.
Typically, when do they start for the fall sports? Is it?
It's typically in August.
August 21st for football.
Game.
August 21st is the first.
Yeah, you're saying it's August 21st. So
yeah,
and August 1st, and then you've got training and everything else leading up to that. So.
Yeah, so you're talking early July for that.
Yeah.
Unless there's some terrible thing that goes wrong with the reopening that is eventually it is taking place, no matter what side you're on right now. Slowly, in some areas it's different than others, but that's what's happening. So unless there's some massive change in these results, we're going to get back to normal, and we're just, I'm hoping it doesn't get kicked back to the back page, actually, and let's keep the focus on, all the people that we're still trying to help, because we don't want it to just become a statistic, and it's a big, big deal. This has wreaked havoc in our lives now for these 3 months, but it really is still a very, very small statistic, and that's not to, demean the impact of it at all. We've tried and we've done the best we can as a society, with some success and with some failure, but it still is it's a small number in relation to the amount of people in the country and in the world, but it's just something you don't want to happen.
Well, it's the first major sport, if you want to call them one of the major sports. NASCAR is having their first race next Sunday.
Yeah, the 17th.
Yeah, without fans in the stands. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I think
golf starts up in the middle of June, I believe.
Yeah.
But it's easy not to have a crowd for golf. So.
There's some tournaments going on this week, Mark. Some smaller tour tournaments. Again, the Outlaw Tour is going to resume play again this week, and so kind of like the golf courses were kind of like one of the first things to kind of come back and kind of make sense,
Yes,
because of the outdoors and things like that. So we'll have sports to talk about, guys. There's going to be.
Can I talk to Mark about a sport we haven't brought up? And Adam, you brought this up when you and I talked this past week. Mark, you worked at the Little League World Series before, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because as you know, it was canceled this year. What is that like? How hard is that going to be on those kids, do you think, that are missing the Little League World Series this year?
I think it's the same as with these high school athletes who didn't get to complete their senior year either. But the high school athletes, it's actually larger on them because these kids are trying to get recruited to go to college if you're playing sports.
Yeah.
You're trying to get recruited to go to a college, and most of the decisions have already been made but you have a kid who maybe has a great senior year and suddenly, he goes to a better college. He gets a better college offer. Now for the kids, they're not going to change the age difference. They're not going to grant them another year of eligibility. But the hope is, I heard this from a Little League official the other day, a local one, that they're hoping to at least play their seasons out. No matter how long that takes. If it takes until August to do that, they're fine with that. But at least give the 12-year-olds a chance to play their season out and, move from that point forward. Now, they would have been playing at the second week in August up in San Bernardino if they had advanced that far. And then the winners in San Bernardino would go to Williamsport. So, you feel sorry for those kids, just like you feel sorry for these high school seniors who don't get to walk, it's just you took their whole senior year away from them that they've waited for so long. And that's also college people. But there's a level of disappointment for these kids, but I think the level of disappointment is even higher for the high school seniors and the college seniors. These kids will still continue to play. Yeah, they won't get to go to the college. I mean, the Little League World Series, and I'll miss that greatly because I worked it for 17 years up in San Bernardino, and it's one of the favorite jobs of the entire year for me, just to be around those kids and see them play some good ball, and because it's baseball at its purest. And I've been fortunate enough to go back to Williamsport as well, and not work the Little League World Series, but to go to it, and it was 10 times better than I thought it would be as far as joy. So that's missing. But I just don't think it's at the level that these high school kids, these high school seniors are experiencing, and these college seniors are experiencing. Because these kids will play baseball next year.
I think that the Little League is more of the camaraderie aspect of it.
Yes.
They want to be playing the games and whatnot. But I honestly think, from talking to my friends who have children who should be playing either softball, because right now softball would be an all-stars right now. At least here in East County anyways. And also Little League Baseball. It's more the camaraderie than anything else. That is what I believe, is missed.
Well, that's with the kids not being in school as well.
Yes.
You can homeschool the kid, but there's something about camaraderie and getting you prepared for the real world that these kids are missing out on. Maybe not so much when you're in elementary school, but I just think, when you get to the high school and then the college level too, that'd be devastating. Imagine all of us Our senior year, they took it away from us.
Oh,
You know, wow, you know, like, well, all of us to a man never thought in a million years that what has happened would happen. Because I remember I worked a spring training game on the 3rd, the ESPN game over in Phoenix when they mic'd up all the players. And we were talking about the season upcoming and everything else.
Yeah.
And looking forward to going back over there and working some games and looking forward to the season. Never even, that was like, what, a week out?
Like 10 days, yeah.
Yep.
Never was that even a consideration when I was over there that I wouldn't be coming over there again to work some games and my son and I were going to go over. Never. And it's just, that's what boggles my mind more than anything else, is that the severity of this, we were hearing about it, and just knowing how quickly the curtain got dropped was just amazing.
Now, Mark Gleason, as you know, hey, I'm the stats guy, and we're at the hour mark, so we probably want to wrap it up. If I could ask Mark one last question, though, Mark, we've come full circle. You're our special guest tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. And my final question for you, because I know you put out a lot of good things on Facebook and all, putting you on the spot, if you had to predict, when is Major League Baseball coming back? Is it coming back? And what kind of schedule and all that are going to have? What's the whole 9 yards going to be on Major League Baseball, if you could predict it?
Hey, I just happened to post something on Facebook about that. So my plan was, they're going to take they're going to start July 1st in empty ballparks. The schedule will remain the same. The All-Star game, gone. They will replace those with 3 games. Take the June schedule, stick it at the end of the year. You stick it after the season was supposed to end on September 27th. Take all the June games, move them to October. Okay, so now you still have 4 months of baseball, and that would be 113 games that the Padres would play. If you add in 7 more doubleheaders, including and you add in 3 games at the All-Star break, you're going to get 120 games. Okay, you start and the playoffs remain the same. So the season ends on October 25th. That's the World Series. The weather will still be decent, but then you might have weather concerns further down the line. But you still do the playoffs the same. The wild card is still the following Tuesday and Wednesday. The division series starts on that Friday and Saturday, so that runs until, I believe, the 10th. And then you have the league championship series. And if the World Series goes all the way to a Game 7, it's the day before Thanksgiving. I think that's what's going to happen.
Well, that's great stuff. We want to thank Nostradamus. Mark Gleason for joining us tonight. Mark Gleason from Fox Sports San Diego, ESPN, TBS, CBS Sports Network, through Fox and the right. But for many things, Mark, thanks again for joining us. And thanks again to...
The fees in the mail, okay?
Yes, sir. We want to thank you, Mark, for being with us, and thank Ramon Scott from EastCountySports.com for hooking us up, and want to thank Adam Paul from EC Preps, as always, for joining us. Hey, just a note, next Monday night we'll be back again at 8:30. Our special guest is going to be Chris Krajewski. Chris is an assistant football coach at Sarah High, head girls lacrosse coach at Castle Park. So we're going to see the boys and the girls side of it next Monday night. So please join us then. And thank you all for joining us all, and have a good night.
Good night.